Welcome, everyone. Welcome to another Wednesday night, Fundamentals to Gain Inner Peace. We're up to class number 49. And it's a new year, a new start, fresh starts. And I do wonder what came up when you saw the title. What comes up in your mind when you hear a fresh start? Depending how old you are, how many Rosh Hashanahs you've done before, what the feelings are. So let's get started. First of all, everybody should have a good year. And wherever you are, whatever it was, you should be able to feel that you're part of it, connected. And that's something that we're going to be talking about tonight. I did want to start with giving chizuk, to say, no matter what it looked like, that was what Hashem wanted. That was the best. But right away, I caught myself. And that's jumping. It's jumping to the part of it's not okay to feel what we feel. We have to feel positive. Jumping right away to say it is what it is. This is what Hashem wants, even though deep down you don't really like it, and you might be upset or whatever feelings come up, and I might be suppressing it by going straight to whatever it was. It was exactly what it needs to be, and Hashem knows what's best for us. So we're going to try to do step number one, and then step number two. So step number one is to be aware of, how do you feel? Where were you in Rosh Hashanah? How did it work out? Did you have different expectations? Or maybe you feel, you loved it, everything worked out, it's great, and you look forward every year to Rosh Hashanah, and that's amazing. Or for those who have done many Rosh Hashanahs and they still do it, but listen, I don't know. I don't know where it's going. I don't know what exactly I need to do. Or maybe you need to, people spend it maybe in the hospital, or maybe they couldn't, or whatever the story was, wherever you were, to realize how do you feel about it. Your expectations were A, and you ended up being B, and how you feel, and it's okay to feel those feelings. That's number one. So that's important. So before we start, let's get grounded. See where you are after Rosh Hashanah, how you feel. Take a deep breath and be okay with those feelings, whatever it is. It could be anger, could be disconnect. Where do you feel it in your body? Just breathe and be okay with it. If you become aware of anything, you can write it down. You can put them in the chat so I can talk about it, whatever works. So when people hear the word fresh new start, the people that feel shut down and they don't really believe it, and it really has to do, many of us, has to do with our experiences in the past. And it could be based on something very young. When we were 8 years old, what was the reaction of what was Rosh Hashanah all about? When we're 13, teenagers, how do you look at it? I got to speak to younger kids, teenagers, and many of them are, they don't really believe. It's sad to see how young they are, and they have already those beliefs. See, I'm not changing. This is who I am. I know I'm going to speak Lashon Hara. So no motivation to do any, say the word tshuva, it just shuts them down. Not me. What do you want? It's just not possible. Some people feel they're not doing anything right. So talk about davening and tshuva and Hashem. No, they don't want to go there. Now the question is, how many of us adults have that inner child inside of us that when we were young, we might have had a reaction subconsciously and not spoken about it, just put it away, and deep down it's still there, still having a hard time to figure out what, why, how, and everybody has a different reaction. Either we don't think about it, or we continue doing the things that we need to do. From the outside, it looks beautiful, which is good, but on inside, it's shut down. There are many teenagers that, for that reason, they just can't continue with what's going on. They can go off. It's hard for them to be from because it just doesn't work. And many of them are black and white. That's usually how teenagers work. It's all or nothing. So talk about saying the whole Tehillim or nothing. Being the whole day, davening the whole day, saying the whole Mazah, davening Shachas Mincha Ma'ariv, everything, Musaf and Ilah. But if I can't, it doesn't work, then it's not for me. So goodbye. Some of them just can't stay. Many of us stay. And somehow we make it work. The question is it because we're shut down, or we're just, we tell ourselves this is all I can do? But the real question is, what's that inner child feeling? How does that inner child feel about what's going on? So if we can connect to that inner child and to stop for a moment to see, what do I really feel? What do I really believe? And that's usually comes usually from those younger years. What did you tell yourself when you were a teenager? If I can be perfect, then that's good. But if I can't, then it's not for me. And who of us is perfect? We've discussed it before, and it's not my secret, and I'm sure you see it around, that we were created human. And that's exactly what Hashem wanted. Hashem created us human. Interesting. And that's what he wants from us. And there's no such a thing of not doing Averis. And again, that's how he created us. There is no perfect. Yes, I will say Lashon Hara. Again, it's not that I'm saying I will, but I know I'm not perfect. So what are we supposed to do? How does this work? How does it work with me? So now we can tell ourselves, all we need to do is those small steps. We can try to work on it. But really, to really go back to that inner child, to listen to that inner child, to understand what's bothering me, why is it hard for me to connect, what's pushing me. And I would say even another way, even if you're saying the whole Tehillim and trying your best to do everything right, I would tell you to stop and to relax a little bit. Why? Because many times, if it's coming from a negative place, if it comes from a place that I'm not okay, Hashem doesn't really like me, the next year is not going to be a good year if I don't say the whole Tehillim. If it comes from there, you're going to be exhausted. And when you're done, you might not want to do it again. And it doesn't last too long. After a while, we're really shut down because many have to do it. They have to, because if they don't, they're doomed. And they can't live with that. They can't live with themselves not doing everything perfect. And it's not healthy, not spiritual, and not physical. You can physically get sick and spiritually be sick. You're not in a good place. That's not what Hashem wants from you. And I would take you all the way back to loving yourself, to say Hashem loves you. And all you should do is say one capital Tehillim. If I could only see what's going through your mind with that one kapitel Tehillim. One kapitel Tehillim. What's that word? Well, if one is nothing worth, then why is two better? You have to believe that each one, you just had a kapitel Tehillim. And Hashem loves you the way you are, even if you're not perfect, even if you're struggling. Yes, and all he wants is those small steps. A very, very small step. But for some people, it's hard. So again, to really know where you're coming from, how you feel about yourself, how you feel, what's your connection with Hashem? When you sit down to face Hashem, to talk to Hashem, what is it? Is it like, I just have to say this? Let me just say it. I don't want to think about it. It's too hard. And like I mentioned before, when we did the Rosh Hashanah meditation, stop saying those words. Stop. First, connect with yourself. Take a deep breath and tell yourself, you're okay. I am okay. Hashem loves me the way I am, where I am, even if I'm not perfect. Yes. Yes. Feel it. Take it in. And you're in the negative beliefs, your inner child, all of those might start screaming and saying, what in the world are you talking about? You're just trying to make yourself feel good. Listen to those voices. Don't try to shut it down. Listen. Listen to what comes up when you try to make yourself feel good. And if that's what we need, then all of this, trying to do everything right and every day and saying the whole Tehillim and tshuva, it doesn't work. And if you have any teenagers at home, you deal with kids, you talk to kids, it's not going to work. You're going to say, tshuva, we have to do tshuva, we have to be better. If they don't have the foundation, the fundamentals, that's basic belief of Hashem created me and he gives me life every day and he loves me the way I am, then for them, tshuva is to sit down and make a list of 10 things they did right today, 10 mitzvahs they did today, 10 good deeds they did today. And if they can't do that, you don't run to tshuva, you don't run to tefillah, and you don't run to tzedakah. You don't have the basic, just the basic. Who am I? And I have to build myself up for the people that you deal with. We have to build up the foundation. If I can have a list of 10 good things you did today, then what's it gonna, you're gonna be running. So you'll say the whole Tehillim because you feel ugly about yourself. You feel that you're worthless. You feel Hashem hates you. And the only way I'll have good years if I say the whole Tehillim. That's not what Hashem wants. How do I know what Hashem wants? A good question. Hashem wants you to have a positive relationship with him. Where are you coming from? Where are you picking it up from? When did you feel those negative beliefs? Or if you're shut down? How old were you? What was the experience when you were younger? And if we're not going back to those ideas, and if we can't air it out and just come up with new beliefs, and being able to take a deep breath and relaxing and taking it easy, and yes, you're okay, and Hashem loves you the way you are, then your tshuva is come back to yourself, to reconnect to yourself, because we're disconnected. And what happens when somebody's disconnected? Everybody acts differently. Some people don't think and they do everything right, but they're disconnected. Some people are shut down, they do nothing. It's not for me, because they're disconnected. Now they wouldn't want to connect, because the second they connect, they meet themselves and their belief about themselves. Does Hashem really like me the way I am? Hashem loves me? You're making me feel good. Thank you. You're just making me feel good. But really, if you would know what I did, all the averos. So let's take a deep breath. Let's come back to ourselves. Let's become aware of that inner child. How does it feel? And be there for that inner child. Who else could be there if not you? Now that you're an adult, you can sit down and think if it's right or wrong. You can ask and go back to that inner child and be there, understand why the inner child feels that way. And don't dismiss those feelings. They have it for a reason. And start building that inner child. And Mitzvah Yom Kippur is coming up. We have now 10 days of Aseres Yimei Tshuva and Yom Kippur. And who's excited about it? We're closer to Hashem. For some people, it's hard. They don't want to hear that word. Closer to Hashem makes them anxious. And then Yom Kippur comes. So they might do everything right. They go to shul, do everything, say all the words. And then at the end, you tell them it's a new, fresh start. Nah, don't sell me the Brooklyn Bridge. I've done it before. I know what it's all about. I know who I am. And I'm just... Some people are disappointed. In shul, everything is great. They feel good. They're davening. And yes, it could be they feel a little bit more connected. And it's really amazing. And things work out. And then they come home. Like, whoa, I thought everything was going to change. I thought it's going to be a new year. Everything will be good. And you're back too late. What's going on over here? Everything is the same. So we don't really need to change our external. It's the internal. It's how do I feel with the everyday mundane things? Yes, with my routine. So that's very important. Yes, you go to shul. For those who still go to shul, Baruch Hashem. And we have to look back. Thank Hashem. Again, wherever you were in Rosh Hashanah, Baruch Hashem, if you were able to hear the tkiyas, you were able to daven a little bit. Thank Hashem. Not everyone was able to do it. Not everybody did it. Some people have no interest. Thank Hashem with what you have. Connect to that. So that's really part number one of tonight. To become aware of where you are. And many of these things that I discussed just in these few minutes might be subconsciously not aware. You might have made it could be you made a decision a long time ago not to think about it. And if I ask you now how it was, you'll say, nice, good, it's fine, beautiful, everything's good. Everything is fine, I did, I davened at my place, and now you're back home. But deep down, it's like the feeling, it's just another year. Again, do the same thing again. It's missing. Something's missing. That's looking forwards to understand it on the way that you should like it. The Yom Kippur, the Aseres Yimei Tshuva. So I would recommend, every day, one kapitel Tehillim. Take a few minutes, close your phone, go in a place where it's quiet, relax, and just become aware of your thoughts. And if it's easy, if you can let Hashem in, let him in. If not, just sit there with yourself, open that Tehillim, and just say one kapitel Tehillim. You can do it with English if you understand it. And when you finish that kapitel Tehillim, tell yourself thank you. That's it. And slowly you'll build yourself up. Okay, so that's the awareness. Now we're going to go into part B, which we're not going to have a Wednesday night class for the next 2 weeks or 3 weeks. I think the next one is going to be after Simchas Torah, Mitzvah Hashem. And we're going into unknown territory for many people. For those who love routine, for those when the routine works, they're okay. Now, there can be a lot of anxiety, worry, and many different feelings because things are not the norm. And that's also important to be aware of what's going on, where you are. You're talking about some families fly to Eretz Yisrael for Sukkot. And then there are those who are looking for a meal. They don't even have where to eat. And all of those in between. And I wonder where you are. We all have our story, whatever the Yom Tov looks like, and where we go or where we don't go, and who comes, and if we like it or we don't like it. This is a very good time to become aware. And for some tips of how to be able to manage with those feelings, triggers, different things that come up, different beliefs for the next 2-3 weeks, Mitzvah Hashem, with all of the exciting Yom Tov. So number one, writing a journal. Just for these 3 weeks, if you didn't do it till now, Find yourself a note, a notebook. Write down. Spend a few minutes every day. Write down how your day was. And what it does is it helps you be an outsider a little bit. First of all, becoming aware. Be with those feelings. Just write down this I didn't like, this I did like. Just 2-3 minutes. And then write, tomorrow I hope A and B. I'm not sure if it's gonna work. Just write down your thoughts. Eventually, after you write for a few minutes, you can go to write down five things that you're grateful for. But I'm not going to tell you to jump to that right away because I first want you to become aware of whatever it is, positive or negative. So step number one, just write whatever the thoughts come up, positive or negative. After that, if you're doing that, you can add 5 things that you're grateful for, that things that worked out, and you can thank Hashem. Even though there were ups and downs, which we all have, and some we like, some we don't, we can always find something that we're grateful for. So that's to be able to journal. Another thing is self-care. We discussed self-care a while ago, but self-care is to give yourself a few minutes, to give yourself something that you need. And step number 1 for self-care is enough sleep, and make sure you eat well and take care of your physical needs, because that's number 1. If we want to become in touch with our emotional needs, a lot of it comes from our physical needs. If we're upset, if we're tired, if we're hungry, you could imagine what our emotions look like. We can't control it then. So the first step is a little bit of self-care, understand what you need. If you can spend some time with yourself, give yourself what you need, so that wherever you are, if you're in a challenging situation, you'll be able to be there. Another thing is quiet time. If you could. Some people can't. Now, it could be hard if you don't have any quiet time for 3 weeks straight. That is very hard. If you don't have time to just sit down, close your phone, and just breathe, take a walk outside in nature, all by yourself, or with a friend if it's easier, if you could. But if you can't, you might have to do it after the 3 weeks. You tell yourself, I need to take care of myself, and now I can't. Mitzvah Hashem, when you get back to routine, you'll give it to yourself. And that's part of self-care. To be able to tell yourself, now I might go through a challenging situation. It's hard for me. But when I get back home, or when things calm down, I'll pat myself on the back. I'll buy myself something, just a coffee, or very simple. Go for a walk, just so that you can be there for yourself, for that inner child, for that feelings that come up, and you're aware of it. You're not suppressing it. And then you can take care of it, talk to it, and treat it, whatever it needs. Now, that doesn't mean by doing these things, you're not going to get triggered. But what it helps is that when you do get triggered, when you do have these feelings, you're a little bit ahead of the game. You're aware of it. And it could help. And even if you find yourself that you did get triggered, you got angry, and you're upset at yourself, don't be so harsh. Understand that it's okay, and you're human. And understand that it's okay to lose yourself once in a while, whatever it looks like for you. Could be you get upset. I'll just share something that I got some feedback, which this is another good idea to visualize. This was a story. Some people have challenging parents, in-laws, whatever it was, and sometimes it's hard for the son-in-law, daughter-in-law, whatever the story is. Before you go, to sit down in a quiet place and imagine yourself going. Imagine what it looks like when you meet the first time. You go inside. It's not the first time you're there. You know what it looks like. Imagine you're in it and you see yourself getting upset. So again, there's 2 ways how to visualize. And I would say you should do both, positive and negative. You visualize first all the negativity, everything going wrong. You forgot everything at home. You get there and they're all upset, and you get upset, and everybody's screaming. And just imagine that, and you're like, you hate it. Just imagine like 10 days that way. And just when you imagine, just take a deep breath and just see it happening. So that helps, because when you get there, half of it is not going to happen. So you're already on the good side. And when it does happen, you've seen it before. It's not new. And those triggers, when it's something that you've seen before, thought about it before, it's different. The trigger is not, it's not so tense. You've been there. It's like, yes, this is exactly what I imagined. Here it is. Take a deep breath. You're ready for it. Okay, so that's the negative. And the feedback that I got, it works. And then do the positive. Positives look, imagine everything's working out. Everything's great. You're relaxed. Even though there's some people that are a little upset, but it's okay. Everybody's enjoying themselves. The food is delicious. It's just good. You get there on time. Everything works out. You get along with everybody. And you just see yourself very relaxed. Sometimes it's hard to believe, but if you imagine that, visualize it. Now, when you go and you're actually in it, when you're experiencing it, I can't tell you what it's going to look like, but from these two visualizations, to be able to see it from both sides, you'll have something in your pockets that's going to work, whatever it is. And then if you're journaling, write down what worked, what didn't work. And again, that doesn't mean everything will be perfect, because we're not perfect. And we're good the way we are. We're good. Baruch Hashem. So I want to wish everyone a gemar chasima tova. Everybody in their journey, wherever you are, whatever you need, Hashem should listen to all our tefillas. We should be able to connect to ourselves, do tshuva with ourselves first. Come back home. And then I can connect to Hashem, my creator, from a positive light, and understand if I have some negativity, where it comes from. And now as an adult, be there for that inner child and say, you're still okay. I understand, but you're okay. And if you can't stay up the whole night, and you can't say the whole Tehillim, and you can't daven everything, and you can't be there, and you have to be worst case scenario, just can't be in shul, you're still okay. Really? Yeah. But, I know it might be hard for many, but you're still okay. And this is where I'll tell you, you are exactly where you need to be. And this is where Hashem wants you to be. And this is where Hashem wants you to talk to him. This is where he wants, because this is where you are. And love yourself the way you are, because Hashem does. Thank you very much. Have a good Yom Tov. And I'll see you in Mitzvah Hashem the Wednesday after Yom Tov in Mitzvah Hashem. Thank you.
You're
welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Where is it?